So for example, if you have bad financial conditions as measured by if you're spending a lot more than you're earning and you don't have a lot of savings, you have more debt or liabilities than savings, you're not in a good financial position. That's a fact. And if you have a downturn, if the country as a whole experiences that problem, and you have a large wealth gap, you are likely to have a fight. I mean, so these cycles don't just take place as cycles, they take place as conditions that are measurable. And so in the book, it was very important to me not to just use words and theories of how this thing works, but to actually show the measures. What is the wealth gap? What is the amount of debt? What is the amount of printing? What are the conflicts that are taking place? Because then you can monitor those things. First thing is you realize that holding cash and dead assets is a bad thing. So a lot of money is in cash because people think that cash is the safest investment. But they are measuring that in the amount of money that they get, nominal returns, and they say it doesn't wiggle much. But think about it. It's lost, as of the most recent statistics, 8.5% over the last, inflation is 8.5%, and they receive virtually no interest rate in cash. And so there was an 8.5% loss of buying power as a result of inflation. And so psychology should change and is in the process of changing to realize that you have to think in terms of buying power, not the number of dollars you have. And you have to think how much is your buying power. And so the worst thing is to be in cash. Like I say, cash is trash, and to be into and to be out of the bonds. The next thing is to have a diversified portfolio of assets. The diversification means some assets that are inflation hedge prone. For example, you're better off to own an inflation index bond than a regular bond.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on crypto?
I think that too much people pay too much attention to one at the extreme of the other. You know, that either somebody's all crypto, or they're all gold, or they're all something. And I believe that that's a challenge. I think that crypto, like gold, is not a productivity earning asset, and it can be controlled by governments in lots of ways. It's been outlawed in a number of places, and it also can be monitored. The privacy element is not secure from governments doing monitoring, and so and the size of crypto is about the size of Microsoft. You know, it's all crypto combined. And so to be overly concentrated in it, in my opinion, is a mistake. But to have some of it is a good thing. So the question is always what amount of it. So I, by and large, would say first, the most important things you could do are actually the simplest things you could do to build that strategic asset allocation mix, not to be out in there day trading your life's fortune away. And so that kind of, you can see it today happening, these things, but you also can see the arc of them in the book because it measures statistics. It shows these things happening. So when you have a financial problems and you have this kind of polarity, and you have a bad time, you have a lot of fighting internally. So imagine where we are in the economic cycle. We're in the part of the economic cycle where they have given, the government has given a lot of money and credit to people. They've put it out. Well, no surprise, that's leading to a lot of inflation. Okay, inflation takes buying power away from people. And it also means that then there's going to be higher interest rates, and that's going to squeeze people. And so that makes that wealth gap and that wealth issue more difficult. So that's the second force. And the third force is the rise of a great power, the geopolitical force that's going on, that we're seeing today with China and Russia and so on, and how that's changing. Because when the power of a country diminishes, okay, when we get weaker financially or how we are with each other and so on, there are greater vulnerabilities. And there's always the competitive power that learns how to become stronger. And competition always happens. There's the establishment and then there's the new competition. And as they get stronger in all ways, militarily and commercially and so on. And that's the dynamic that we're seeing. I mean, think about this way. If this war is not a difficult war for the United States and Europe for the most important, it produces higher oil prices and the like. But while Russia is throwing in military, we are throwing in sanctions. And these sanctions don't cost lives. It's not a military war. So we're fighting it with sanctions and they're fighting it with military. If you didn't have that, how would you fight this war? It would be a much more difficult situation. And the third thing that we're seeing is how the world is lining up. The world is lining up, which, you know, there are in wars, typically Axis and allied powers. And you could see by the actions that are taken as to which are lining up. Who voted in favor of what at the United Nations? Who is allowing what rules? Who is trading with the other party? Russia actually put out a list who are friendly and adversarial countries. You'll see at the next G20 meeting who will be in favor of Russia attending that meeting and who will be in favor of it not attending. And that's making clear how the sides are lining up.